my back got broken. Cuz hey yo, listen, I've had the same computer chair since 2013. My neck and my back can't take it anymore. I've been having neck problems for the past 5 months. My spine hurts, and it's simply related to the fact that I'm getting older. And spending the past decade sitting in front of a computer with an old office chair isn't doing it anymore. So I ordered a new chair off of Amazon. Man, these gamer chairs are expensive. I saw a chair for $400. That chair better have a seat warmer, back massager, Bluetooth capabilities, but no, it's just an expensive. It's expensive because it's name brand and it lights up. So, hey, listen, I just got what looked the most comfy. So it came yesterday, the new chair. I put it together and I'm very satisfied. I'm not feeling agony while I'm working or doing whatever I'm doing on the computer. It has a footrest, a neck pad, a back pad, it's extra comfy seat and everything. Now, however, my neck and my back still hurts. Not because of the current chair, but because I've spent years sitting in the old chair. So I said, can't take it anymore. I'm going to go to a chiropractor. Maybe I need my bones and my joints realigned. And listen, for all y'all who sit in front of the computer all day, gaming or coding or doing whatever, this will happen to you too when you get older. Either buy a standing desk, which I'm not doing that. People just say that. People be like, yo, just get a standing desk. Yeah, like it's that easy to stand all day. Like for real, I'm not doing that. I don't know why people say that stuff, especially if you're on the computer working or gaming the whole day. Like bro, or you could do that, or you can invest into a super comfy chair that like I have that you could basically sleep in, because I'm falling asleep in this chair now. Now, I asked a friend about a chiropractor I can go to because I've never been to one. Why? Because you ever hear stories about people getting and then, oh, I'm paralyzed for the rest of my life. Yeah, listen, that has freaked me out since forever. And my friend was saying the same thing. He's scared of getting paralyzed or something. If he gets paralyzed, he works in construction. If he gets paralyzed, his job is over. You know what I'm saying? Like, he makes a lot of money too. But I decided, hey, I'm going to take the risk. So I ended up going to a chiropractor to only schedule an appointment and an evaluation or whatever. I haven't done it yet. Okay. Maybe within the week, next week or so, I'm going to get the whole alignment thing done, right? I'm just going to get my neck cracked and stuff. But while I was sitting in the lobby, I saw this poster and I was reading it and I was like, huh, interesting. This poster, it had a poem on it. And I kind of laughed at it when I first read it. Well, when I first started reading it, I was kind of like, bruh. But then I was like, huh. I asked God to take away my pride, and God said no. He said it was not for him to take it away, but for me to give it up. I asked God to make my handicapped child whole, and God said no. He said her spirit already is, while her body is only temporary. I asked God to grant me patience, and God said no. He said patience is a byproduct of tribulation. It isn't granted, it is earned. I asked God to give me happiness, and God said no. He said, I give blessings. Happiness is up to you. Man, I asked God to spare me pain, and God said no. He said, suffering draws you apart from worldly cares and brings you closer to me. I asked God to make my spirit grow, and God said no. He said I must grow on my own, and he will prune me to make me fruitful. I asked God if he loved me, and God said yes. He gave me his only son who died for me, and I will be in heaven someday. And finally, I asked God to help me love others as much as he loves me, and God said, finally, you have the idea. So I did find the poem online, all right? I'll put it on the screen right now so you can just review everything. I did add a little performative emphasis to certain parts, but here's the poem on the screen right now. And the poem is called God Said No. And like I said, I chuckled a little bit when I first read this. I saw the poster on the wall at the chiropractor. Like, why is this at a chiropractor? Like, this sounds like I'm about to die or something. Like, final prayer before I get paralyzed. You know what I'm saying? And I shouldn't even joke about that. It's not even funny because I'm going to jinx it, right? Let me just knock on wood. All right. I always felt stuff like this is a defense mechanism of, attributing suffering to divine power. It's very non-constructive. The human mind is interesting because, and we all do this, by the way, but when we suffer, we try to make sense out of suffering, right? When we feel pain, loss, or maybe even injustice, we find ourselves engaging in coping mechanisms to protect our mental stability. One of the most common mechanisms is denial. Instead of processing real pain that we go through, we suppress it with avoidance. This suffering that I'm going through, it must be good for me. Sure, that may be the case for certain situations. For example, pain does teach you something. If you accept pain, if you're humble enough, right, you will learn that even in Eastern ideology, they teach you that suffering can be a teacher. But it's only a teacher if you make it a teacher. But sometimes it prevents people from getting genuine help. We have to recognize that instead of minimizing the impact of it, suffering is a very real thing and is a difficult thing. If we think rationally, we should be able to figure out the meaning behind your suffering rather than neglecting it and saying, it's only God. It's only because God wanted me to suffer right now. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to teach me a lesson. The universe is trying to explain something to me. And this brings up something I interpreted from that poem, right? Let's ignore the part about religion. How, Aku? When literally the whole poem is about God. How can we just ignore the part about religion? Okay, well, it is possible if we actually recognize that the poem is a dialogue of cause and effect. The first stanza of the poem mentions pride. I asked God to take away my pride, and God said no. He said it was not for him to take it away, but for me to give it up. Pride. Pride is a construct of ego. To diminish your ego, it requires a conscious effort through self-awareness. Pride is not an obstacle imposed by some external force like God. That's why we got to cut the religious part out of this. People use God as a justification for their ego and pride, as if some divine force bestowed them with superiority or entitlement. Like they feel like they're a special person. Like, and I'm sure a lot of y'all know religious nutcases like this. But the reality is, it's an attribute that you can only consciously subdue through personal growth. There's a saying that goes, as within, so without. What does that mean? It means that your world is a reflection of your internal state. Pride is the ego's attempt to create an artificial sense of superiority, a mask that disguises deeper insecurity. It seeks to define itself by external validation rather than internal stability. But when you look deeper, you realize that the ego is nothing more than an illusion, a place of thought, but not of an absolute truth. Pride doesn't dissolve because, it doesn't just disappear because an external force dictates it. It dissolves when you stop feeding it with the illusion of necessity. We have to understand that, and nobody's perfect with this because everyone falls for this. I fall for this. You know what I'm saying? Everybody does it. But nothing external holds you back. Only your attachment to an identity that feels like a false sense of control, when in reality, your pride may be the very thing controlling you. Speaking of control, the second stanza, I think this is the most messed up thing that people do. People cope with the misfortunes of others. People are suffering every day with disabilities that they have no control over. Yet people be like, you're blessed. I'm blessed. I can't walk, bruh. I'm born with a life-threatening disease. What do you mean I'm blessed? Like, they got parents that are stressed every day because someone was born sick and they got to spend more money or more attention to take care of them. That kid feels guilty. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm not saying tell your sick kid or, yeah, hey, bruh, you are born messed up and unlucky. God doesn't love you. They might not even believe in God at this point. You know what I'm saying? They're not happy at all, but we do use this defense mechanism. I asked God to make my handicapped child whole, and God said no. He said her spirit already is, while her body is only temporary. So, Aku, you mentioned the misfortune of somebody being born, quote, unlucky, and yet this stanza mentions it not being about the physical. Her spirit is already whole. You know, this is what I'm talking about. This is an example of acceptance versus control. The struggle of life tends to come from resistance. I mean, wishing to change an external circumstance, like a physical circumstance that it in reality cannot be changed, this resistance creates more suffering. We tend to be very frustrated with our body at times. Other people tend to be more frustrated with their bodies more than other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're too short, you're too ugly, you're black. And like, hey, listen, people be feeling some type of way about anything related to their body. How you move, how your aesthetics, the standards don't fit with society nowadays. You know what I'm saying? But you know what it is? If you really think about it, People are more attached and unhappy with how we think it should be rather than what it currently is. The sad part about life is that physical limitations or differences is commonly judged and will make people treat you differently. But let's be real here. What are we supposed to do about this? Like, this is literally a major part of society since forever, judging off of looks and perception. It's unfair. You can be mad all day about it. You can resent the world for being so shallow. But does that necessarily resolve the problem? I mean, realistically, really think about it. Society doesn't suffer from it, judging people. You suffer. Society will move on and keep existing. You know what I'm saying? But you will carry that weight. And in turn, it creates more suffering. Are you going to let the world tell you how to feel about yourself? Or are you going to recognize that your personality or heart was never bound to a physical form in the first place? But if you sit there angry or sad all day about this, then it is bound to your physical form. And even though you had no control of how your body is, like, this wasn't like you didn't get to hop into like a Sims character creation or anything like that. Like, yo, you didn't have any control about this, but you know what? You have control over how you're reacting to it. The real limitation is the attachment to what you feel your life should be rather than what you were given. Does this make sense? And I could break down this poem even deeper. And you see, we don't even have to talk about God and be religious about teaching insightful lessons here. This poem, if we strip away the divine intervention, we can be rational and understand that these things that we use religion for, we can just reveal and teach one another through a framework of inner peace and self-mastery. We learn that the external world, like divine intervention, does not grant you anything. Not patience, not happiness, not even love. The moment you stop expecting the world to change and start changing yourself, everything will shift with it. That's what I take from this. And then the poem ends with something very powerful about love. I ask God to help me love others as much as he loves me. And God said, finally, you have the idea. When you let go of your pride, your ego, your struggle to control, you remove your attachments, what else are you left with? In my opinion, the highest form of wisdom is not power, intellect, or even dominance. It's the ability to exist in a state of mind where you feel connected to accepting without expectations and to give without seeking return. Hence why God says, you finally have the idea. And this is symbolic. Whether we want to talk about this religiously or metaphysically, it represents the final stage of wisdom. Everything before in this poem, even the stuff I mentioned in this video, I only went through the first two stanzas. Like I said, I could go through the whole thing, but this video is going to be about 45 minutes long. But like everything before that line, the last line in the poem, pride, suffering, patience, struggle, it's all obstacles we create for ourselves. The only real freedom from when you realize that coexisting in its purest form is not something you receive or seek. It's something you embody and express internally. Remember that saying from before? As within, so without. And that's what makes you free. Speaking of free, this episode is found on Spotify and YouTube. Roaming free. Roaming free, sailor drifting in the sea. Where I'm going next, I don't know, it's one of these. Another day flowing by again where I'm long to be. Laid it down, but I can't find no more space to breathe. Takes two to love, you can say that, yeah, and I agree. Carving your emotions into me, it starts atrocities. Promise me forgiveness for you is worth the apology. But a lonely road to go, how I'm feeling honestly. I'm roaming free. See myself drift away, now I'm seeing qualities. Life is so much better when I'm focused on my prophecy. Things still lurk with me, but I'm out here constantly roaming. I'm roaming free, chasing me, not looking back.